I'm here with Toni. Toni has had an amazing past 6-7 months, a really crazy journey. She's an absolute machine. How is life going right now?
You know what? I'm quite busy, have quite a bit of work on my desk. Lots of momentum, I would say. And so soon I'll have to start turning business away because I just can't do it all.
Your business isn't the standard lead generation agent model, or at least I haven't seen a business model like that straight up before you started working together. So you want to do a little bit of a quick breakdown on what you do and who you really work with, etc.
So I've been in the digital marketing space for well over 10 years, probably closer to 15 years at this point. I was in the mental health and addiction treatment space, spent about 10 years in that space. And as a digital marketer, I decided, which I owned my own agency, but I kind of wanted to get out of it just because the SEO and PPC and some of that stuff is becoming very commoditized. So I felt like I wanted to go more in the direction of a chief marketing officer role, Levy, and kind of segue myself out of the tactical side of digital marketing. And so I stumbled upon Agency Velocity, saw quite a few of Levy's emails, jumped in right away. I think I was probably one of the first. I jumped in thinking, okay, I'll become a chief marketing officer in the mental health and addiction treatment space. I dated that industry for probably about 90 days and realized that I wasn't going to be able to crack the code. And so I spent 90 days grinding it out, sending cold email after cold email and all that sort of stuff. I also have a background in software engineering. So I was a software QA engineer for 13 years. And then I also owned my own e-commerce store. So I said, you know what, let's jump into maybe e-com, let's jump into B2B SaaS and something under the umbrella of software development to see if I could crack the code for myself as a chief marketing officer. We ran into the holidays. As you know, the holidays are just terrible as it relates to response rates. Yeah. And so I started in August, dated my mental health industry for 90 days, and then I hit a wall due to the holidays. So I picked up quite a bit of momentum since January, right? And so lots of positive replies. And so far, it's just been up from here.
It was super funny. I remember I just checked it like a few hours ago. I went through our Slack chats and I went through the journey and everything's all over the place. You had so many skills and advantages, but which one do we actually pick? You had the e-com, you had software, you had mental health, like a bunch of stuff in digital marketing. What do you really go into? How did you look at it and how did you end up deciding what is like the specific type of business or how am I going to structure the offer?
That's a great question. So what I did was I set up cold email campaigns in both the e-com and B2B SaaS space, okay? Because I wanted the data to kind of give me an idea. And of course, this is all based on Levy's and Rob's guidance, okay? On your guidance. I don't know if you remember and you saw in the Slack channel, Levy, you were like, listen, let's just get some emails out in B2B. Let's get some emails out in e-com and let's just see what happened, right? So I wasn't married to either space, either industry. And so I sent a couple of campaigns out and I would say the B2B SaaS industry is stuck, and so those folks were ripe and ready for a chief marketing officer. And what we discovered is that a lot of these companies, they love lead gen, but they don't have a strategy in place. They don't have predictable growth in place. And so it's a lot more than just generating leads, right? Or creating brand awareness. You have to have a predictable growth plan in place. And so me as a chief marketing officer, that's what I've been able to do is to walk into these companies and what I would consider as demand diversification in place. It's not just cold email, LinkedIn. Demand diversification, but in different areas. You have multiple growth levers that's running at the same time in parallel.
Yeah, so in a sense, just basically your whole thing is looking at what they do, piecing it together and finding channels where to generate revenue from, just pulling the big levers, getting revenue, getting growth into the business and really being there to manage the whole operation.
Exactly. And so what I've found here over the last couple of months is this. A lot of B2B SaaS companies don't have an ICP. They don't know who their ideal customer profile is. They may have some short-term growth levers in place, but they don't have both short-term and long-term growth levers in place. And so they just don't really have concrete, predictable revenue generating opportunities in place where it's predictable. They know how many leads they're going to get, not just market qualified leads, but sales qualified opportunities. And so I've been able to walk in and help these companies get themselves centered from an ICP perspective, their core messaging, unique value propositions, and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's also what I've seen, like being also in the B2B SaaS space. If you come in as just a lead generation, like you only do one acquisition channel for them, in most cases, it's not going to be enough. You really need to be like a little bit everywhere. And that's how we are also tweaking the agent velocity protocol a lot based on basically helping with the core messaging, ICP, multiple different levers. $1,000 generate revenue. That's also a big part of it because I saw like your progress on it. I was like, this actually makes a lot of sense because that's at the end of the day what all the high performers really end up doing, like helping with everything.
Well, you have to take a holistic approach to marketing, right? So not just your total addressable market, Levy, but understanding your serviceable addressable market. So segmenting your total addressable market and then understanding their pain points, understanding, what they're struggling with day to day. And so you have to take a holistic approach if you want predictable growth. Walking into these companies from that perspective just is almost a breath of fresh air for these folks. It's been a grind. It's been a journey. It's been I've had some discouraging days for sure, but you know what? It's all about sticking with it and believing in the program. I really believed in you and Agency Velocity. I really believe in Rob. I just believe in what you guys were doing. And you know what? The mere fact that every time I message you, you answer. But that's the one thing that I appreciate about Agency Velocity and you guys is this. You're in the trenches as well. You're not just giving direction, but you're in the trenches. You're actually grinding this process out with us, which makes a heck of a difference when you're talking about a course or mentorship program or anything like that. You want your mentor to be in the trenches with you, and they're getting as many negative replies as you are, and they're having to turn negative replies into positive replies as well. Does that make sense?
Exactly. That's thank you for those kind words. That's amazing. I think like your approach to really marketing and to those companies, it's extremely valuable and it's something that they are really missing. And it really shows also on like the deals that you sign. Because it's not like that you're signing these small consultations, etc. The first deal that you signed, right, it was for 12 months and it was for $12K a month.
Yeah, this is a B2B SaaS company with like almost 30,000 customers. All right. And so that's a lot of customers. And so they've been able to generate some growth over the last few years, but they're trying to double their annual revenue. They're also trying to expand their average revenue per customer. I walked into them and I said, hey, listen, let's put a predictable growth plan together. And to be quite frank with you, my retainer fee of $12,000 that they did not blink. They did not blink when I sent them. Yeah. So I feel like I almost shortchanged myself, Levy. And I probably should have charged $15,000 or $20,000 for 12 months per month, right? Yeah. So my first deal was $12,000, second deal $7,500, and so the third deal was more on the lead gen side, Levy. So that was a $4,000 deal, and then I'm actually in the final stages of closing a $15,000 deal per month for the next 12. So I should get final approval here within the next couple of days on that one. Yeah,
that's amazing. And I also think that a huge advantage that you have is you have experience in the market. You have seen and you have sold and you have done a lot of different partnerships. Like I think a lot of us who don't have that big of a experience maybe start having that, but a lot of the younger guys who are like, this might be the first business that they're really building or the second business they're building, they might have like a lot of valuable stuff, but they just don't have really the courage to charge 15K retainers or 12K retainers. They just don't have the courage to do it. So I think that's amazing that you're running it up with the retainers like that.
Yeah, you know what? Most CMOs, they're pretty hefty contracts. Depending on you and your experience, you can demand $20,000 to $25,000 just depending on the situation, if that makes sense. With my years of experience, though, I've run every tactical campaign under the digital marketing umbrella, from SEO to PPC to LinkedIn PPC to organic. I've done it all. But a lot of times, Levy, what I find is whenever you are so invested into your client work, your own brand, it almost gets rusty, right? Because you're not focusing on building your own brand because you're so focused on helping other brands build their brand. And that's kind of where I was when I walked into Agency Velocity.
Yeah, like you had a bunch of good assets and skills and everything. I remember sitting in a call with you for like 1.5 hours. I still probably have the notes saved and it's like this long and it has 1,000 things and we're like just trying to wrap our head around it. But yeah, through hard work and iteration really seems that you have cracked the code now.
Yeah, it's been a great journey, but it was hard work. Lots of trial, lots of error, lots of do's and don'ts, right? But I think I'm definitely headed in the right direction. I'm excited about it.
It's still early days. I'm really excited to see how it looks like next year or in 6 months.
Exactly. With the help of you guys, I'll continue to chip away, trying to figure out ways I can maybe tap into more of the lead gen stuff, but maybe outsource most of the work and just bring on new clients from that perspective. Because as a CMO, you can only do so much CMO work as a one-stop shop. But tapping more into the lead gen side is where I'm going to go. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Super excited. I have 2 questions. One question that I really have is for the people out there who might be in the similar situation. they know that they have skills and they have valuable ideas, but they don't really have this straight, clear road, and it just feels that they're like scrambling and trying to make it work. And maybe they have been doing it for 6 months and they haven't seen results. What would you say to those people? What is really your number one tip to people in that situation?
You know what? I would say number one, allow the data to help you make decisions. A lot of times we tend to marry ourselves to an idea that hasn't been tested in the market. And I would say be open-minded and be willing to make changes on the fly. If the data doesn't support your idea, be willing to walk away and go in a different direction. That's my number one. And so I think that's one of the mental bottlenecks that I had for the first 90 days. I was married to my industry, the mental health and addiction treatment industry, and I wanted to hold on to it. And so I would say, allow the data to, as you always say in the Slack channel, Levy, listen, you can run some tests pretty quickly, and those tests will give you the information you need to move forward. Let the data help you make very quick decisions.
That's amazing to say, because at the end of the day, it's business that we are running. A lot of people, I have seen it myself, and as well as like we have this small ego inside of us that like this is so cool and I want to do it this industry this way, this pricing model, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't sell, then it doesn't sell.
That's right. And it'll show itself pretty quickly.
Yeah, it will. When your calendar is empty and bank account is also maybe empty, then you will know.
That's right.
Second and last question that I have for you, Toni, is now that we have worked together 6-7 months, we have gone through a pretty amazing journey. What is your overall opinion of working with us? How would you describe working with us? And what would you say to someone who might be on the edge? Maybe should I join? Maybe I don't. Maybe these guys are scammers. Maybe they're full of shit. What would you say in that situation?
I would say take the plunge. Every single day that you're holding yourself back from agency velocity, I would say those are the number of days that you're missing out on generating income. For me, what's very, very important whenever joining some sort of a course or mentorship or anything like that, I have two preferences. Number one, is my mentor in the trenches with me? The second requirement is, does he have a thriving community to support all of the moving pieces of becoming successful? And agency velocity checks off both boxes. Levy is in the trenches with us, and the community is ridiculously thriving. You can get answers before you even finish typing your question. Before you click enter, someone's answering your question, okay? And so agency velocity definitely checks off the boxes that I needed in order to be successful. So if you're worried, if you're skeptical, listen, you're wasting time.
Thank you. That's amazing to say. Thank you a lot. Really appreciate you hopping on. I think this is an amazing interview, one of the best, and not throwing any shade to anyone who has been on this call with us, but this was one of my favorite ones. If you're a B2B SaaS company and you need a fractional CMO, you need to find Toni in your hand. Toni, I don't know how many B2B SaaS founders or companies watch my stuff, but if there's a chance, where can they find you?
365growth.io. And you can email me at Toni, Toni, at 365growth.io.
That's amazing. If you fit the criteria, do not miss out. There's really nothing you can lose if you even hop on a call, see what happens.
Yes.